Indoor air quality is a pretty vague term. So I want to break down what good indoor air quality is actually comprised of and compare the two primary methods for controlling air quality, namely the VRP versus the IAQP method. First, let's define what is good indoor air quality. ASHRAE defines it as air in which there are no known contaminants at harmful concentrations and with which a substantial majority of occupants do not express dissatisfaction. So that last part kind of covers a lot. So to summarize, not harmful and comfortable for most people. We can break that down into three factors. The first factor is temperature, and then is the temperature of the air comfortable? The second factor is humidity. If the air is too dry, that can lead to irritation. If it's too moist, then it can be musty and you're at risk for mold growth. The third factor is the actual composition of the air itself. And this is where we're going to spend most of our time. What is the air made of? Temperature and humidity are pretty straightforward. That's the H, A, and C in HVAC. But the composition itself is less understood. So let's spend some time breaking down the composition of air even further. Air composition can be explained using three categories. The first category is particulates. Particulates are tiny solid or liquid particles suspended in the air. It can be dust or fibers. It can be aerosols as a result of combustion, cooking, cleaning, smoking. They're often labeled using the term PM10, which stands for particulate matter with a diameter of less than or equal to 10 micrometers, or PM2.5, which is even smaller, less than or equal to 2.5 micrometers. PM10 will get into your mouth and airways and into your lungs, whereas PM2.5 can actually penetrate your lungs and actually get into your bloodstream. So small particles, not healthy. These particles can be filtered out using MERV 13 or even better, HEPA filters. The second category is gases and vapors. So first, this just includes the concentration of gases that make up our air, and we want them to be in proper concentration, like oxygen, carbon dioxide, nitrogen, nothing that's harmful in and of itself. But it also includes harmful gases and vapors like carbon monoxide, ozone, and VOCs. VOCs are volatile organic compounds such as formaldehyde, benzene, acetone, etc. VOCs are usually a byproduct of things like paint, cleaning chemicals, and other chemicals that are actually a part of your space, a part of your interiors. Another way to think of VOCs is if you walk into a newly constructed building and think, oh, it's got that new car smell. Those are actually VOCs off-gassing. To handle gases and vapors, MERV 13 and HEPA isn't going to be enough by itself. You have to also include carbon filters, and that carbon can actually absorb the gases and vapors to filter them out. The third category is biologicals. So these are particles in the air, such as mold spores, bacteria, and viruses, or allergens like pollen. And to control and mitigate these contaminants, you'll likely use a combination of MERV 13 or HEPA filters, carbon filtration, and UV light. And that UV light can kill viruses, bacteria, and handle some of the biological contaminants. All right, now that we know what is in the air, let's go over the two primary methods for controlling air composition. The first method is ventilation. This is the V in HVAC. And a simple way to think of this is dilution. We're pumping in a bunch of fresh outside air so that we can dilute the space and reduce the ratio of contaminants. So here's how ventilation works. Air is going to return from the space where it is relieved or exhausted from the building. Then you'll have fresh outside air that is going to be supplied to the space. And if your outdoor air quality is better than your indoor air quality, that is going to improve the air quality of your space through dilution. The VRP, or the ventilation rate procedure outlined in ASHRAE, determines the amount of outside air required to adequately maintain your indoor air quality. Now, there's a big assumption that comes with this. It assumes that you have good outdoor air quality. So you can imagine the problem if you're in LA during a bunch of wildfires. Your only source of indoor air quality control is ventilation. That could be an issue. So with ventilation, there is less source control and there is more load because this outside air, at whatever temperature it's at, needs to be conditioned to meet your temperature and humidity requirements for good indoor air quality, which we touched on at the beginning. That's the first primary method, ventilation. An alternative method is purification. This is where you're going to suck in indoor air, filter out the contaminants, and supply pure air. So with this method, we are actually trapping the contaminants with the air purification device and ensuring that you have pure air at the source. It's active purification instead of dilution. So the purification method handles contaminants right at the source rather than mixing and diluting. The downside is you cannot add oxygen with an air purification device, so you still need some ventilation. This method has to be paired with some ventilation. Now, the IAQP, Indoor Air Quality Procedure, also outlined by ASHRAE, determines how much you can reduce the outside air required, accounting for the fact that you have this source control, this air purification inside your spaces. And in a lot of applications, you can reduce the required outdoor intake by a lot. Less outdoor air intake required means you'll have less load on your HVAC system. And this, in turn, means you can have smaller HVAC equipment and higher overall efficiency for your system. If you'd like to see more HVAC concepts explained, like in this video, do me a huge favor and let me know by liking, commenting, sending the video to people you think will benefit. It helps out a ton.